Happening now on Grid tonight. Antonio Felix da Costa is leaving DS Techeetah and joining Porsche's Formula E team. Is this a golden opportunity for da Costa to take the next step in his career? Susie Wolff is departing down as a team boss for Venturi Racing. How much will the team miss her leadership as they transition to Maserati? Matt White's here with your weekly grid history update. Ryan Blaney is coming back to Team Penske on a long-term deal. Can he reach the next level and get the captain a championship before the new deal runs out? Hello to all of our viewers here in the United States and across the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Adam Limerice, and with me is Kobe Lambeth and Edward Hunter from Formula E Zone. A special shout out to our Patreon supporters, Colin, Mark, Michelle, and Robin. Thank you for investing in Grid Network. Link to our Patreon in the video description below. And please feel free to comment in the chat room below and ask any question. Let's kick off tonight's show with some Formula E silly season news. The day after the Formula E season ended in Seoul, South Korea, Antonio Felix da Costa officially departed DS Techeetah to become a Porsche factory driver. With DS Techeetah and da Costa splitting up, this gave him an opportunity to seek employment in a crazy, silly season heading into 2023, with most of the field planning to switch teams. Since his Formula E title during the 2019-20 season, da Costa has been unable to regain his championship form after finishing the first year. He finished 8th in the driver's standings the following 2 years. Joining Porsche's Formula E program, he'll try to rediscover his form and help Porsche try to reach the highest expectations we expected from them when they joined Formula E. Only one win in 3 seasons with Pascal Wehrlein earlier this year in Mexico. He'll try to reach high expectations we expected from him when they joined Formula E, returning to the team as da Costa's teammate, and the photo you see on the screen, courtesy of Porsche Motorsports. Ed, is the move to Porsche a good one for da Costa, and can Porsche improve their performance in the team's championship?
Thanks for reading that, Adam, because I know it was a little bit tough to get through. And apologies, everyone, for some of the technical difficulties we got, because I think we're stuck with the lovely photo of Antonio for the time being. But anyway, great to be on. And as for the move, we had a great video that Jack Pickering shot in the pit lane, which was of the Seoul, which is of the DS Techeetah team delivering Antonio. They strapped him into a plastic chair and they delivered him to the Porsche team in the pit lane, which is really funny and a great sight to see. As for competitively, it sort of makes sense with Techeetah sort of losing the Citroen DS, of course DS being the electric brand for Citroen, essentially, for electric vehicles. It makes complete sense that they would, having moved to Dragon, that da Costa would want to go to a manufacturer team, because it seems Techeetah, if it's going to continue next season, which is still sort of in doubt at this point, but Mark Preston is trying to get a deal together. They've had a lot of financial troubles, obviously, that's been well documented since basically a cryptocurrency sponsor fell through, although they did announce a new one in Seoul. It was on the side of the nose cone. But it makes sense to go to Porsche. It nearly happened in the 5th season, actually, for Da Costa. And he was at the end of the 5th season, as he was leaving BMW Andretti, because he wasn't happy with BMW basically pulling out of endurance racing. And he wanted to drive in more things, basically. So he decided to leave BMW, but it was a bit of a weird thing because he didn't want to go from, there's a sort of gentleman's agreement between a lot of the German manufacturers, especially Audi, Porsche, BMW, and obviously Audi, Porsche, both owned by Volkswagen, but BMW as well. There's sort of gentleman's agreement that they don't poach drivers from one another, essentially. So that was why that fell through, and Da Costa went to Techeetah instead, which, as it happened, was the big title-winning squad. Is this move going to work for him alongside Wehrlein? Certainly, you'd think it's Wehrlein's team, but I think Da Costa, with the experience he's not a world champion because he won the season just before it became a world championship Formula E, but he's certainly got loads of experience. I think he will probably fit in quite well at Porsche. I think the question is, Wehrlein being a German driver, there's obviously a bit more momentum. I think behind Wehrlein, he's had a lot more time to settle into that team. And I also think Penske, having won in Mexico, the season just gone, season 8, I think that'll work to his advantage. But there's a lot of unknowns into Gen 3, which I think you sort of alluded to in that intro, Adam. So yeah, I think it's a good move for Da Costa. Obviously, that leaves a lot of question marks as to what happens to Techeetah, obviously. But I think he's had a very good run there, winning a championship. Well, won in New York this season as well. So I think Da Costa, despite coming out of a disappointing season, I think this puts him in a position to bounce back in the first Gen 3 season, season 9. Anyway, hey, we're back. I just realized.
Yeah, well, thank you, Ed and Adam, for filling in, stepping in. Unfortunately, sometimes when we're live on the air, this type of stuff happens. Right before we went on the air, my internet crashed hard, and I couldn't hear you guys. I couldn't see you guys. I have no idea what happened. Reset my internet, and here we're back. So really appreciate you guys keeping the program going, and I'll keep it going as well. Also, the cool thing about being a Porsche factory driver is opening up opportunities to race in sports car racing when there's no ongoing conflict with Formula E commitments. Da Costa's been a solid sports car driver, has a solid sports car career, finishing third the last couple of seasons in the FIA World Endurance Championships LMP2 category with Jota Sport. This year, he's currently the LMP2 championship points leader after winning Le Mans with his teammates Will Stevens and Roberto Gonzalez. Ironically, earlier in the summer, Porsche announced that Jota Sport will become an LMDH customer team in WEC next year, fielding a new Porsche 963 with sponsorship from Hearst, the same team Da Costa currently drives for. In the photo you see on the screen, courtesy of Porsche Motorsport. Adam, does this open the door for Da Costa to continue his relationship with Jota Sport, or possibly race with the factory-backed Porsche Penske Motorsport?
Well, Kobe, with this news now, I could see Antonio Felix da Costa running a lot more sports car races. You think about, the 24 Hours of Daytona, that kicks off the sports car racing season. You think about the 24 Hours of Le Mans. You think about Spa, Monza. You think about the 24 Hours of Dubai. So now, with this opportunity, Antonio Felix da Costa could go out and run some of these really huge endurance sports car races, as long as it doesn't conflict with his Formula E commitment. Antonio Felix da Costa, you mentioned he's run sports cars, so now we could see him in some of these really big endurance races.
Yeah, and the thing is, Antonio Felix da Costa's already been in a lot of these big endurance races, and I think, with Jota Sport tying up with Porsche and Da Costa becoming a Porsche factory driver, it certainly makes it easier for him to continue that relationship into the future with Jota Sport doing an excellent job of the organization right now in LMP2, and it looks like he's going to have a strong chance of finishing the season and winning that championship, since he doesn't have any more Formula E things to do for the remainder of the 2022 calendar year. But also, if I was Da Costa, I would also be interested, see if I can get some time in a Penske car, because drive for Roger Penske, that's something that a lot of drivers really dream of doing. As you can see right here, the Penske paint scheme here, the LMDH Porsche 963. It's certainly a dream come true to race for the captain, Roger Penske. And I'm sure Antonio Felix da Costa would be honored if he had the opportunity to drive for the captain. But if not, hey, you can always continue with Jota Sports, since they really seem to have some really good chemistry going on right now.
Thanks, Colby. And now to some news from down under in Australia. And what's been a busy news week for Dick Johnson Racing's Shell V-Power organization. Next year's driver lineup will look familiar. Anton De Pasquale and Will Davison will return to the team in 2023. De Pasquale was expected to return. No surprise there. The team explored other options for the other seat, but decided to stick with Will Davison. But on to the other major changes now. The Ralph family has joined Dick Johnson and Ryan Story in the team's ownership group. Starting in January 2023, they'll become majority shareholders. They're also shareholders of the Melbourne Storm National Rugby League team. Meanwhile, Brett Ralph is a director for the following organizations: the Sunshine Coast Lightning Super Netball Team, the Melbourne United Basketball Club, and the Australian Baseball League. And he's the chairman of the Melbourne Aces Baseball Club. So the Ralphs really know their stuff when it comes to various types of sports, and look to add motorsports to their growing sports empire next year. And the photos you see on the screen, courtesy of Shell V-Power Racing. Next, here's Kobe with some news about a lady who's leaving Formula E.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, we got some more major Formula E silly season news, and that is Susie Wolff will step down as the CEO of Rocket Venturi Racing and leave Formula E altogether. This comes after the most successful season in the team's history, jumping from 7th to 2nd in the team's championship, in a big turnaround with drivers Eduardo Mortara and Lucas Di Grassi winning a total of 5 races combined. Speaking of Di Grassi, we got the big silly season news about him, that he's on his way to Mahindra next year. Meanwhile, Wolff's been one of the most successful female executives in motorsports in the last few years, leaving behind a better Venturi organization than how she found it, as the team transitions to becoming the Maserati factory Formula E team next season. A photo you see on the screen, courtesy of Susie Wolff's Twitter. Starting with you, Adam, how big of an inspiration has Susie Wolff been for women in motorsports?
Kobe, and Susie Wolff has been a really huge inspiration for women in motorsports. And for those of you who don't know, before Susie Wolff was a race car driver, she competed in the DTM when it was a touring car series before it went over to sports cars. Susie Wolff, Susie in 24, Susie Wolff became the first woman driver for a long time to be on. In 2014, she became the first woman to take part in a Formula One race weekend in 22 years. That's incredible. Susie Wolff, Susie Wolff is a mom, and now she can spend time with her family and maybe join her husband at F1 races. You all know her husband, Toto Wolff of Mercedes. So Susie has done an incredible job in Formula E and motorsports in general, and I wish her nothing but the best going forward.
Yes, Adam, I think you hit the nail on the head there in regards to it's Susie taking a step back to spend time with her family, including her young son, obviously in Monaco. Even though Venturi itself is based in Monaco, but you can't be working and looking after your kids at the same time. The other part is that it's kind of mission accomplished for her. When she was brought in at the very end of season 4, Venturi was a midfield Formula E team, and they were basically trying to build their own powertrains for the first generation of Formula E. In Gen 2, they became a customer team for the majority of it, and a pretty successful customer team as well when they hooked up with obviously Mercedes entered in season 6, and Venturi started using Mercedes powertrains. But it was in season 5, I think, so it was almost immediately that we saw the impact, because they won in Hong Kong with Eduardo Mortara, which was a big moment for them. Obviously, Sam Bird had to get disqualified first, but it was still some great performances by Mortara, but consistently throughout the era. And we even saw in the season just gone, Di Grassi winning and getting a few podiums for them too, specifically in London and on the Sunday, which I was actually there to see in person, Di Grassi winning that particular race. So certainly Susie Wolff, like he says, has achieved a lot. I think there are a lot of people who thought she could have achieved more as a driver, but she certainly excelled as a team owner. And I think a lot of people did doubt her when she, Gildo Pasta, the owner of Venturi, signed her up as the team principal. There are a lot of people who thought, Susie Wolff, really? And I think a lot of them, and I have to say I was probably one of those people, because I was a little bit skeptical based on some of Susie's DTM results. I felt like she sort of didn't excel like the likes of Paul di Resta or whatever did. I mean, obviously she didn't have, the latest car. But anyway, we're not really here to discuss Susie's career as a driver. She still achieved a lot considering where she came from in sort of Scotland, in a fairly rural area, if I remember correctly, where not a lot of racing drivers come from. But yeah, it's a little bit sad to see her go. But thankfully, Jerome D'Ambrosio, who's a former Mahindra driver in Formula E, was joined last year as the deputy team principal. This year sort of stepped up as the team principal when Susie got the promotion to become the CEO, which was sort of the beginning of her stepping back from her day-to-day running of the Venturi team. And I think Jerome has learned a lot. We did a great interview with Jerome for our Formula E Zone magazine, where he was very complimentary of Susie, actually, and the amount that she sort of gave him that opportunity at the Venturi team in the first place. And that sort of grew into the sort of team principal role that is now. They've got the Maserati role, Maserati partnership, which is effectively meaning they're effectively a kind of manufacturer team, but they will run DS powertrains at the same time as Dragon, who I mentioned. I may not have mentioned earlier, but Dragon Penske essentially is where John O'Byrne and Stoffel Van Dorn will be driving for. Not sure who's going to replace Di Grassi, who, as you said, Cody said, was moving to Mahindra. I believe Nick De Vries is the favourite to take the seat alongside Mortara for season 9, Gen 3. But certainly Venturi, it's sad to see Susie go, but she did a lot for that team, not just on the performance side, but also on the representation side. There are a lot of Formula E teams that talk about having gender equality in their workforce, but Venturi is one of the few that really is pushing for it the strongest. And in fact, on top of that, they're very pro LGBTQ plus team, as we saw in Jakarta, where they couldn't run any of their elite vodka sponsorship, so they replaced it with the pride flag on the back of the diffuser and a lot of Save Ukraine stickers as well, which is maybe a symbolic gesture, but still one they didn't really have to do, so it was nice to see. So I think Venturi is definitely a team that's set up well for the future, and like Cody said at the beginning of this segment, Susie Wolff's put it in a much better, much stronger, a much healthier position than it was when she stepped in. So I think Jerome will do a good job, but Susie can look back on her stint at the team with pride.
Yeah, for sure. Well said. Susie Wolff can certainly look back on her time at Venturi and be extremely proud of what she was able to accomplish in such a short amount of time, because in motorsports, it's really difficult, when you're towards the back of the grid in the team's championship, and you get almost all the way to the front, and to do that in just a few seasons, that's quite remarkable what she's done with this team, and be able to leave it in great hands when Maserati is going to take over this Venturi program. And Susie is certainly an inspiration, since we obviously see a lack of representation of females in executive roles in motorsports, and this will certainly cause a lot of women in motorsports to dream big, and they can say that someday I can be a Susie Wolff, I can be leading a major motorsports operation like Venturi Racing, and I can find the same type of success that she did and go out there and try to build a championship winning team, and a team that's going to contend for race wins on a weekly basis. So definitely a big kudos to Susie Wolff for everything she's been able to accomplish in Formula E, and we wish her well moving forward in the next chapter of her life. And after being together for over a decade, Rene Rast and Audi will part ways at the end of the year. Rast and Audi have won 24 races together in DTM, and he's also a 3-time DTM champion in 2017, 2019, and 2020. He'll go down in DTM history as Audi's most successful driver. Other successes with Audi: Rast won the 24 Hours of Spa in 2012, the 24 Hours of Nürburgring in 2014, GT Masters champion in 2014 as well. He won the Rolex 24 at Daytona in the GT classes in 2012 and 2016. Plus, he was a part of Audi's LMP1 driver lineup at Le Mans in 2015. In the 2020-21 season of Formula E, Rast raced for Audi, finished 13th in the championship, and several credible media outlets are reporting that Rast could be headed to McLaren's Formula E team next season. We'll see if the Zach Brown driver carousel system continues. In recent weeks, Audi has suffered 2 major blows, and we've reported on both of them here at Grid Network. First, losing one of their most successful customer teams, Team WRT, to BMW, is going to be going LMDH racing in 2024. Now they're losing one of their most successful drivers. It's causing some people to question Audi's future direction in motorsports, especially with their decision to put an LMDH program on the back burner, because they've been clear about their intentions to enter Formula One at the start of the new engine regulations in 2026. And let us know down in the comments below, is Audi's push to join the F1 grid hurting their overall racing program due to the loss of Team WRT Rene Rast? And could more Audi factory drivers be headed towards the exits? And the photo you saw there, Rene Rast, courtesy of the DTM. And now it's time we say goodbye to Ed from Formula E Zone, since it's quite late there in the UK. Ed, we really appreciate you for joining us tonight, and we'll be sure to see you next time.
No worries. And if you haven't already, check out some of the videos that Jack Pickering shot and I edited for Formula Zone on the channel from Seoul. If you want to see especially the pit walk at the end of the Sunday race, where Pico sees Da Costa being strapped to the plastic chair and delivered by the DS Techeetah team to Porsche. That was very funny. Just a shame Pico's mic sort of cut out at that point. But anyways, it's great to talk to you guys. It's very late now, so there's probably people who are annoyed at hearing me muttering in the background. So I need to make sure they get some sleep, and I get some sleep too. So good night, guys. You probably got way more to get through. So I hope it's good. I know it will be, because you two are brilliant. So see ya.
See you next time, Ed. And next, here's Matt White with a grid history update.
It's that time of the week again where we whiz around the motorsport world to bring you up to speed with some results from the weekend. Sorry I wasn't with you last week, but we'll catch up now with our EPI update to follow. Let's start with what happened at the weekend. It wasn't a particularly busy one, but what we saw, so there was some terrific racing going on across the world this past weekend. We'll start at Richmond, where Chandler Smith was a winner in the truck series. Unfortunately, we've got 5 weeks now until the next truck race, which is a cut-off race in the playoffs. Strange scheduling from the NASCAR Truck Series. The winner in the Cup race, second week in a row, was Kevin Harvick. The World Rally Cross Championship finally got off to its season this weekend up in Norway at Hell, and Johan Kristoffersson was the winner of the first round of the year in the new all-electric World Rally Cross Championship. Here in the UK, we had plenty of action going on at Snetterton. British touring cars were on at the weekend. 2 wins for Colin Turkington and a win for Ash Sutton, the reigning champion, in the third race of the weekend. I will implore you to try and search out some of the British Superbike action from the weekend from Thruxton, especially races 2 and 3 of the weekend. They were absolutely ridiculously good. Jason O'Halloran, winning on Saturday and then the first of the 2 Sunday races. Taron McKenzie on the line, pipping Brad Ray to race 3. So a sweep of the weekend for McCann's Yamaha in BSB. Plenty coming up this weekend as well. Watkins Glen is the main highlight for us here at the Grid Network over the weekend. Of course, Kimi Räikkönen, Danny Kvyat and Mike Rockenfeller in the Cup race. Looking very much forward to that. You can hear coverage, of course, on the Ultimate Sports Radio Network on Mixlr.com. I'll be part of the commentary team for that. We've also got IndyCar at Gateway, their anti-penultimate race of the season, the final oval of the year. So they're the big 2-ticket items coming at you at the weekend. And, of course, MotoGP in Austria. Let's have a look at the EPI, the Endurance Performance Index. Didn't bring you the update last week on the table because I wasn't here. But let's have a look at it, see how it stands. Raffaele Marciello is still in the lead. And there wasn't any Endurance Performance Index races this weekend that counted. So we'll go back 2 weeks to bring you up to speed with what happened a couple of weeks ago. The ADAC GT Masters were in action at the Nürburgring. Raffaele Marciello teaming with Maro Engel, who jumps up to 5th. He finally got his first win of the year. He's been knocking on the door for a long, long time of getting a win, and those two teamed up together on Saturday to get the win. They came second in Sunday's race, behind second place in the EPI, Jules Gounon, and his teammate for the weekend, Fabian Schiller. So another Mercedes sweep in ADA GT Masters. They're in action again this weekend at Oschersleben. So chance again for Marciello and Gounon to stretch their advantage at the top of the table. Ricky Taylor and Philippe Albuquerque won the IMSA race at Road America a couple of weeks ago. That puts them 6th and 8th, Albuquerque and Taylor, just ahead of the man that they beat to the flag, Oliver Jarvis. He was 9th. He is 9th in the table. His teammate, by the way, Tom Blomqvist, is 14th in the EPI. And we had Super GT action as well 2 weeks ago at Fuji, the 500-mile race. And it was Sasha Fenestraz, who got his Formula E debut at the weekend, just gone in Seoul, and Ryotomo Miyata getting the win for the Tom's team. Coming up this weekend, I mentioned those GT Masters races at Oschersleben. We've also got GT World Challenge Asia there at Sugo, and GT World Challenge America at Road Atlanta as well. So plenty of action to come from the EPI. We'll bring you up to speed on that and all the other results from the weekend on next week's Grid Tonight.
Thank you, Matt. And moving on, earlier today, Team Penske announced they've re-signed Ryan Blaney to a long-term contract extension in his 5th season with Team Penske, his 7th full season in the NASCAR Cup Series. Blaney has won a total of 7 races, including a large handful of top 5 and top 10 finishes. However, the driver on number 12 Ford Mustang hasn't been able to make it to the championship 4 yet in the playoffs. A lot of people are still waiting for him to reach the same heights as his championship winning teammate Joe Logano and his former teammate Brad Keselowski, who's also a Cup champion. In the graphic you see right in the screen, courtesy of Team Penske. Adam, what does a long-term deal from Team Penske say about the organization's confidence in Blaney as a driver?
Well, Kobe, I think it's a good thing. Ryan Blaney is a talented young driver in an organization that has won a lot in NASCAR. You think back to Team Penske, all the success they've had. Drivers like Rusty Wallace. So Ryan Blaney, he is a good talent in NASCAR. And with this contract, long-term extension with Team Penske, even though Ryan Blaney hasn't won any championships in the Cup Series just yet, I wouldn't be surprised if down the road we see Ryan Blaney in the championship 4 contending for a few NASCAR Cup Series championships.
And the thing is, Ryan Blaney is just 28 years old. It feels like he's been in the sport for a while, and he has. And overall, this is his 10th year with Team Penske. So we've been together an entire decade, dating back to the NASCAR Xfinity Series when he ran some races with them. Blaney's not even 30 yet, so really his best years are ahead of him in the NASCAR Cup Series, because we don't really see drivers at their peak performance until they turn age 35. So between age 35, age 40, that's when you really see the drivers perform the best in their racing careers before they start to fall off quite a bit. So there's still a lot of room and improvement for Ryan Blaney, and and well, in the press release, Roger Penske said it best. He considers Blaney to be one of the top competitors in the NASCAR Cup Series, and he's excited to see what he can do, building upon all the successes he's had with the team so far. And while securing his long-term future in Cup certainly takes the stress off of him, his current point situation may not. Despite being second in points in the regular season standings, Blaney currently holds the 16th and final playoff spot due to there have been 15 different winners. We get another new winner this weekend at Watkins Glen, and Blaney gets bounced from the postseason with a walk-off victory at Daytona potentially being his only hopes of making the playoffs. Although Blaney's future is secured now with Team Penske, will there still be some sleepless nights for the next 2 weeks?
Oh yeah, Kobe. Oh yeah. And you mentioned the next two races, Sunday at Watkins Glen and the following Saturday night in Daytona. Ryan Blaney needs to go out there and race clean, race smart, and if I were Ryan Blaney, I wouldn't look behind him, because who's behind Ryan Blaney? Martin Truex Jr. If Ryan Blaney has really bad luck at either Watkins Glen or Daytona, Martin Truex Jr. could overtake Ryan Blaney and get that 16th position. So if I'm Ryan Blaney, Sunday at Watkins Glen and the following Saturday night at Daytona, I would race clean, race smart, and don't make any mistakes that whole weekend. You're gonna have to give it your best these next 2 weeks in order to secure a spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, the number 12 team certainly gonna have to limit mistakes. And you brought up a lot of excellent points, Adam, by racing smart, racing clean, because I know it's really crazy to look at this situation. The driver who's second in the season-long points, and when you look at it from that perspective, you think Ryan Blaney is having an incredible season, and he really is. Running very consistently. He just hasn't won a points paying race yet. But if there's a new winner at Watkins Glen on Sunday, and he's unable to win at Daytona the following week, then he'll be bounced from the playoffs. And then what's looking like an incredible season of consistency will certainly turn into a season of failure for not making the playoffs. And it just goes to show with this playoff system, it will really expose some of the flaws that is having. We'll save that story for another day when we have our own Ben Snyder on the show, because he certainly enjoys to talk about that topic quite a bit. But getting back to the question itself, certainly going to be a lot of restless nights for Ryan Blaney moving forward on Sunday at Watkins Glen. He needs to make sure that he's going for stage points, because I feel like at this time, going for stage points is going to be very crucial, because right now Martin Truex Jr. can still point his way in to the playoffs if Blaney has bad luck, as you mentioned, Adam. So those stage points are going to be super important. I know with the stages on the road courses, it really messes up the strategy quite a bit, where you see most of the front runners at pit before the stage end. If Ryan Blaney's running up towards the front, he might want to consider winning stage 1 and stage 2, because that would give him potentially 20 extra points on Martin Truex Jr. if Truex decides to pit and doesn't end up scoring any stage points. And that could potentially be huge if we don't get any new race winners and help Ryan Blaney advance to the postseason. So certainly that number 12 team, these next 2 weeks are going to be really intense for them as they fight to try to get into the postseason. And it's just really crazy considering how strong of a season Blaney's had despite not winning a points race, that he's in this position of potentially not even making the playoffs if something goes totally wrong.
That's right, Gobi. And another driver signing a long-term deal to return to their current team in the NTT IndyCar Series. It is a rookie riding a hot streak recently. Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing is bringing 21-year-old Christian Lundgaard back for the 2023 season and beyond. In his last two races, Lundgaard's been sensational. His first career IndyCar podium at the Gallagher Grand Prix in Indy. Then he had a good qualifying effort and ran up front in the Music City Grand Prix on the streets of Nashville, Tennessee. When Lundgaard first came to IndyCar from F2, he had ties to the Alpine F1 driver development program. With his recent performances in the number 30 Honda, some wondered if he might emerge in the F1 driver market, especially with Alpine needing a second driver, depending on what happens with Oscar Piastri's contract. Almost 2 weeks ago, Lundgaard put any possible rumors to rest, saying he doesn't have a working relationship with Alpine anymore. He loves racing in IndyCar and enjoys the culture. So he's committed to running in North America for the long haul now. And with 3 races to go in the 2022 season, he leads the Rookie of the Year standings by 41 points over David Malukas. The photo you see on the screen, courtesy of Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. Now it's time for everybody's favorite game here at Grid Network, Pick a Winner. And we take a look at the updated leaderboard standings right here and use the hashtag Pick a Winner on social media. And if you're outside the top 10, you get your first pick right, you get 4 extra bonus points. So if you're watching tonight, you never played Pick a Winner, come join us and see how you do against the likes of Kobe and myself and other members of the Grid Network, plus viewers like Alex Fleener. With that all being said, let's get started. First up, the Repco Supercars Championship is back in action this weekend at the legendary Sandown International Raceway. There's 3 races, and let our viewers know there's going to be a co-driver practice session for the upcoming Bathurst 1000 in October. Some fans and drivers would like to see a return of a popular race to Sandown, which is the Sandown 500, which was a 500-kilometer endurance race on the Supercars calendar. Now, last year, Shane Van Gisbergen had an incredible weekend and swept the action at Sandown, and he's coming off sweeping the weekend last time out at the Bend Motorsports Park. So, Kobe, does Shane Van Gisbergen continue his winning ways in winning race 1 at Sandown?
Yes, he does. I think Shane Van Gisbergen is going to keep his hot streak going until he wraps up the championship early before the end of the 2022 Repco Supercars Championship season.
Kobe, even though I'm trailing you by 5 points to pick a winner, I'm going to have to agree with you and say SVG gets it done in race 1 at Sandown. And on Saturday's free race show, we'll provide a recap of race 1 at Sandown. Next, the FIA World Rally Championship is also back in action, this time at Rally, Belgium. Last year, it was home countryman Thierry Neuville getting the victory. Last time out of Finland, it was Ott Tanak who got the victory. So, Kobe, does Ott Tanak or Thierry Neuville win this weekend in Belgium?
I'm actually going to go with the driver who's on top of the championship right now and has won most of the races this year. I think Collie Rovanperä is going to get it done in Rally, Belgium.
Well, Kobe, he hasn't won a rally yet this year, and he was completely dominant here last year in his home country. So I'm going with Thierry Neuville to get the job done in his home rally, and we'll provide an update on Rally Belgium Saturday, on our pre-race show, and we'll wrap it all up Sunday on our wrap-up show. Kobe, time to wrap up this edition of Grid Tonight.
Yeah, another edition of Grid Tonight in the books, and please be sure to like and subscribe to Grid Network here on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We encourage you to take 5 minutes after our show and consider joining our Patreon Invest in Grid Network to keep us on the air well into the future. Do you want to buy me a coffee? Click the link in the video description below, and you can buy a drink for your favorite on our talent here at Grid Network. I want to give a big thank you to Edward Hunter from formerly Zone, who was just here a little while ago. Amber and Zachary for buying us one. We greatly appreciate it. Any amount will help us continue to grow on our motorsports media outlet. Visit Public.com, also known as the stock market social media home. The link below and referral code GRIDnet gives you $5 to invest immediately. Public.com allows you to connect with your friends. You can make new friends and use tools to learn how to properly invest in the stock market. And looking at our schedule coming up, check out a brand new episode of Women in Motorsports later this week. Then Saturday, Grid Live pre-race at noon Eastern, and Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Watkins Glen International. For Edward Hunter from formerly Zone and Adam Limmeries, I'm Kobe Lambert from The Podium Finish. Thank you all for watching tonight, and we'll see you next time.
Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, Public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on Public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GRIDNET for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on Public.com.